Everyone is panicking. We're seeing headlines from major universities claiming generative AI is wiping out junior level software development jobs. But are we looking at the whole picture here, or just one they want you to see? What if the data is being twisted to fit a narrative? What if two much bigger, less flashy economic events happened at the exact same time that nobody's really talking about? And those are actually the real culprits. They're banking on you not knowing the difference. So is AI really the silent thief stealing junior developer roles, or are these headlines twisting numbers to scare us? After diving deep into Stanford's latest report and cross-checking with real-world data from my years in building software teams, I'm calling foul. These studies are glossing over massive economic elements in the room, and they even acknowledge them and then gloss right over them. So how much longer can we blame AI when sky-high interest rates and sneaky tax changes are actually the real job killers? So let's stick around today. I'm going to unpack some of what the data means and how it's being manipulated and what it truly means for some of these careers. Let's dive into it. Welcome to Startup Pack. I'm Spencer, and here at Startup Pack, we love to train software developers as well as build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so these reports are screaming about AI wiping out junior jobs, and they're stacking the deck by ignoring brutal interest rate hikes and tax code shifts that hit tech hiring harder than any chatbot ever could. So these reports are drawing a straight line from launch of ChatGPT to a dip in junior hiring. And frankly, it's a lazy analysis here. They've completely ignored the economic earthquake happening in the background. Now, as someone who's navigated multiple tech booms and busts over the years, I can tell you that it isn't an AI story. It's an economic story disguised as one. So I'm going to break down what's really going on. Now, as always, the best compliment you can give me is to leave a comment down below, because I read absolutely every one of them, and it's my favorite way to connect with you guys. So make sure you leave a comment down below. Now, let me jump into this a little bit here and talk about some of these, right? Because there's the video that's coming around here, and it says AI job reports are lying to you, and here's some proof, right? And I want to jump into some of this. Let me get this up here for you on the monitor. So if you're not following Rohan Paul, you definitely should. He's a great guy for this stuff. But he goes into the second research proves, and even him, I get a little annoyed with this. Generative AI is lowering demand for junior staff. 7.7% junior headcount decline with generative AI adopters by firms 6 quarters, and 40% fewer job hirings in the whole quarter. Now, what they're not looking at here, and it's going to be kind of interesting. So let's look at this, because this is the generative AI seniority-based technical challenge, and this is the infamous canary in the coal mine, right? U.S. resume and job posting data covering nearly 62 million workers and 285,000 firms. We track within firm employment dynamics by seniority. We identify AI adoption through a text analysis approach that flags postings for dedicated AI integrator roles. Now, that's how they're saying that AI is actually the one to blame here, but I actually think causation is not what they're looking for here, right? The junior decline is driven primarily by slower hiring that increased separations, the largest effects in wholesale and retail trade. Now, I actually think that he says, finally, a solid 57-page report on AI's effect on the job market from Stanford. And this is the canary in the coal mines, right? This paper examines the changes in the labor market for occupations exposed to generative artificial intelligence using high-frequency administrative data. Now, AI career early workers 22 through 25, the most AI-exposed occupations have experienced a 13% relative decline in employment. So this is the cause, or the link that they're supposedly linking here. AI revolution is beginning to have a significant and disproportionate impact on entry-level workers in the American labor market. Now, I'm going to break down a lot of this today because I've looked at it. Now, what they're basically looking at here is this chart. They're saying since 2015, that when ChatGPT released here, they're saying the decline in juniors has gone down, was the total has stayed here, and seniors has continued to climb. Now, what they're missing here, and what the paper actually says when you go into the paper too, and they're following this same employment from early adopters, right, non-adopters over time, and he goes through a bunch more of the parts of the paper. But what they fail to acknowledge here is that right here in their chart, right here is also where interest rates took the almost overnight turn up and have stayed at a very high level, the highest level that interest rates have stayed for the longest period of time. And I can pull up these graphs and show you, but I've shown them here on before, so make sure you like and subscribe, because I've gone through this before. But you're going to see the interest rates have stayed high through this exact same time period. Now, what does that say? It says that people aren't willing to invest into these junior jobs while money is expensive. They want to pay for a senior who's going to give them the most bang for buck right at the point, but they're not willing to invest in the future while money is expensive. So this is exactly the same time period in which money became expensive. Now, Mark Cuban even points out here, if AI was going to destroy white-collar jobs, shouldn't we already be seeing occupational declines in office buildings, particularly in big cities where large employers are primarily based? Or am I missing something? So again, he's pointing out some very clear points here that aren't doing this. Now, this is another article that's talking about, really, we're going to go through this again and say AI is doing this. He says, think about it. Suppose you're a manager at a software company and you realize that the coming of AI coding tools means you don't need as many software engineers. Yes, you'd probably decide to hire fewer 22-year-old engineers, but would you run out and hire a ton of new 40-year-old engineers? Probably not, no. And yet, the guy who did the report, his data says that this is exactly what's happening since 2022. Empirically speaking, it's a great time to be a middle-aged software engineer or customer service rep. Now, I don't buy that for a second, right? Because if if you're seeing if you're saying that engineering is going to continue to grow in these spaces because AI is going to be taking those jobs, like generally speaking, a lot of these juniors actually know how to use AI as much as anybody. Now let's talk about why AI is probably not replacing a software developer. And this is a total article to actually not even talking about these specific findings, but why AI is probably not doing this. Now, Jason Diller here says every feature has some kind of life cycle, regardless of your specific methodology. You're probably following some sort of path that looks like this: ideate, design, code, test, refine, release. Now, let's look at which part of these AI can actually help us with. It can kind of help us if you're a new greenfield application. Maybe with some of the design, it might help you with some of the design. It might be able to help you write some code. Again, if it's a new greenfield, some of these AI tools are pretty good for that. Could help you write some unit tests, but it's probably not going to write you real integration tests, nor is it going to manually test it. Certainly not going to help you refine it, and certainly not going to help you release it. So of all of these steps, it might be able to help this one. So again, not really seeing where that would jump in. Now, Hacker News, of course, jumps in and says, hey, is your company still actually hiring this? And they asked them. And post through post through post through post comes up with all other kinds of reasons, and all of them are saying they're not seeing this on their job. This guy says, I find it the bigger problem is that hiring is broken. And I agree with that. What we're seeing here is we're seeing tons of job posts get put out, and the juniors are actually using AI tools to flood the market with thousands of job applications. Meanwhile, the employer are using a different job application tool to go through all of them, recognizing the AI posts and throwing them out. So, just the same way that we're seeing that ChatGPT usage dropped off during summertime, this is that same thing you're seeing here. The juniors are the one applying with AI tools. Now, because most of us seniors have a wide enough network that if we lose our job, we're going to go out to friends and colleagues and former colleagues to get a job. So this guy says we're a small team, but recently brought on junior hiring primarily because of the low cost. I agree with that. For certain client contracts, a lower billable rate is preferable. They have the job opening for a day and had to shut it down due to so many applications. Same problem. This is a totally different poster, by the way. Rather than sift through them all, they picked a friend of a current employee. Sigh. Okay, there you go. The networking and the older devs. So why do you think we're seeing this? It's because these devs know how to network. These juniors don't have nearly the strong network that these guys do. So they're reliant on the currently broken AI job market. Now, junior engineers are getting hired, but there are definitely fewer positions available. That goes back to what I was saying earlier. Those high interest rates that we've been sitting on now for 3 years, because the Fed won't budge on this, is the highest. If you take every quarter and add it up together, we've never had interest rates this high this long. Yes, we've had a couple of other peaks where it's been higher for shorter amounts of time, but never this long, and never did we see it rise so steep so quickly. So fewer positions is scary for sure, but it's also a normal part of the boom and bust cycle that is inherent to the tech industry. Look, if we're seeing this rush in jobs here that came up before, look at the rate at which these jobs increased in every category. There's going to be some natural attrition through this, and there's going to be some pain to this. And unfortunately, the juniors are the one feeling it, but it's not because of AI. If anything, AI investment is propping us up as still some money is getting invested, even though money is expensive at the moment. Look, I'm not the only one saying this, guys. Here, I don't even know who throwaway 311131 is, right? All right. Total oversaturation at the end of the market, and given its same comp sci and soft engineering degrees are still in vogue, it seems the trend will continue. Coupled with companies cutting back and wanting to maximize value, they end up focusing on the upper end of the market, experience-wise. Okay, same thing I'm saying here, right? Now we can go through all of these, and I've listed through a lot of these, but people are not saying, oh yeah, our job isn't hiring anymore because we're using AI. That just isn't what's happening, right? So everyone is panicking, and we're seeing the headlines from these major universities claiming that generative AI is wiping out junior level jobs, but it's not looking at the whole picture, right? Because we're gonna delve into these two. The report directly addresses the potential impact of interest rate changes. It explicitly states that a possible alternative explanation is finding that industry or firm, and this is a quote, industry or firm level shocks such as interest rate changes. Surprise, like it's what's actually causing it. However, the authors accounted for this by using statistical method controls for firm time effects to absorb any aggregate shock, but they're not sitting on the fact that interest rates have not sat this high for this long. The other part that they're ignoring, the report mentions the tax code change, section 174 of the tax code, in a footnote. In a section discussing alternative explanations for their finding, the report notes that, quote, amendments to the Internal Revenue 174 enacted in 2022 also disallowed companies from immediately deducting R&D expenditures, including software development costs. Now, let's go back to our monitor here. Now, at what point do we see this exact decline in this? It's because people aren't wanting to invest because they can't write it off anymore because 174. Now, the big beautiful bill just changed that. When you start seeing this uptick back into the juniors. Surprise, right? This right here, this little trail indicator that we see right here is people starting to hire juniors back again because of the tax code change. Literally, this line is the date in which the tax code, revenue code 174, hit. So, again, they even acknowledge it in the report, and yet that doesn't sell the hype, right? So the authors acknowledge that this is a potential cause for a slowdown in technology hire, but state that their results remain consistent even after excluding computer occupation. Whatever, right? They're missing the point here. These reports are committing a classic error. They're confusing correlation with causation. They see ChatGPT's release and a dip in junior hiring and scream, AI is taking all the jobs. But they conveniently ignore the massive economic shift that's happened at the exact same time frames, two of them. Rise of interest rates, tax code 174. This isn't just an oversight, it's a fundamental flaw that invalidates the primary conclusion of their report. It's like blaming the new umbrella you bought for the rainstorm. You're going to look at these two factors, and they conveniently brush them aside. So remember 2022, the Fed started cranking up interest rates faster than we've seen in decades. When money becomes expensive, what's the first thing companies cut? Speculative long-term investments. Hiring a junior developer is exactly that. It's an investment in future talent, not immediate productivity. Businesses facing high borrowing costs will always choose to lean on their existing senior staff before taking on costs of training a new person. This creates a hiring freeze for entry-level roles across the entire economy, not just in tech, but tech is feeling it the most because this previously was something they could write down. So to ignore this is ignoring the single biggest factor affecting business spending since the pandemic. Now, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think the reports know better? To me, it seems pretty obvious that these 2 points were missed. So if you think about how these reports zoom in on the AI adoption, but conveniently sidestep the Fed's rate rocket from near zero to over 5% in record time, and also as I've been going across as a fractional CTO, I've watched companies freeze junior roles because their borrowing cash got painfully expensive. So Stanford paper nods at the interest rates as a possible shock, but then goes right back to their held on claim that they want to make the headlines with that AI is the cause here. So now we're also going to flip to section 174 of the tax code, right? That expired deduction let firms write off R&D spends like dev salaries right away. Now without it, companies amortize costs over years, making junior devs look like long-term bets that they can't afford right now because cost is so expensive. So it's funny how these reports hype AI doom, but really bury the tax code bomb that exploded in 2022, as well as the interest rate hikes. Now, the MIT report study screams 95% of AI pilots flopped. And it's because firms don't grasp the implementation correctly, not because AI is useless. So there's a lot of different things that we're seeing out there and a lot of different causes that are going into all these parts. And so I just wanted to make sure that we take a real look at some of these reports because, of course, the headline is immediately screaming AI adoption sees 7.7% junior drops. But there's so many other factors, and I think there's two way larger factors from what I've seen, even in hiring my own firm. Now, here at Starter Pack, we do totally different. We've actually taken our coding boot camp and we've turned it into a registered apprentice provider program. We work with the states of Utah and Idaho. So if you're in Utah and Idaho, reach out to us. Check out starterpack.com/jobs, because we take folks and we pay them a very low rate, but we're giving them training, and we train them in the boot camps with a one-on-one tutor. We get them up to speed, and then we put them into jobs working with seniors and doing real software development, and we train them. Now, why are we doing this? Well, it's a win-win-win, right? It's 3 wins. This sounds like I'm just giving you a bunch of buzzwords, but it's for real. We get a software developer that we train on the tech stacks that we want and in the methodologies that we want. I get a low-cost developer that I've trained to be exactly what I want. The client gets a great rate because I'm giving them a good pass-through rate on these. The state then gets a great opportunity because they're getting to show that their programs are providing jobs. Win, 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 right? 3 wins. So everybody gets to win from this, and this is an example where here at Starter Pack, we're actually working to try to help break some of this. Now, with tax rates at these high costs, with the tax code changes, and thankfully the big beautiful bill, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the inflationary parts in the big beautiful bill, but I did like that it got rid of the 174. With these things now in place, I believe we're going to start to slowly see this crawl back. We've got to see interest rates come down. They're still too high. And until we can fix that, money is going to still be expensive. And while it's been sitting at this expensive a rate, it's very hard for corporations to invest into software development. So ultimately, I think these reports manipulated some of the facts outright. I think they ignored some of the most important things that are actually affecting the market. Now, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Please flood me with the examples of how your company is at hiring junior developers because they are replacing it with AI. And I'll sit here and wait. But here at Startup Pack, we love to train software developers as well as build custom software solutions. If we can help your company, reach out to us at starterpack.com/Spencer, and here's some great information about our services.
Hi, I'm Spencer, a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and 25 years in software development, I've transformed technology teams and products for businesses just like yours. As your fractional CTO, you get the strategic guidance of a seasoned technology executive without the full-time commitment, perfect for companies ready to leverage cutting-edge technology without expanding headcount. My team at Startup Hack has already built advanced AI agents for small and medium businesses, automating complex workflows and delivering advanced ROI to human workflows. We specialize in creating custom software that connects your systems into a single coherent technology ecosystem. Our development approach focuses on tangible business outcomes. For one client, we developed AI-powered workflows that cut days off of human processes. For another company, by connecting multiple systems, we reduced processing time to increase their ROI by over 75%. We don't just write code, we architect solutions that scale. Whether you need cloud system architecture, data integration between legacy systems, or custom AI agents that automate your unique business processes, my team delivers results that exceed your expectations. Having led technology for a lot of companies and launched 7 successful brands of my own, I bring battle-tested expertise to your business challenges. Our specialty is turning technological complexity into business advantage. So if you're ready to harness the power of AI and custom software to drive your business forward, let's connect. Together, we'll build technology that doesn't just solve today's problems, it positions you for tomorrow's opportunities. Technology leadership, decades of experience, AI powered. Reach out today and we can help you. Check out starterpack.com/Spencer.